If I said there's been a glitch in FIFA career mode for about a decade now, one that thousands of people know about, that EA has tried to patch several times and has the potential to break the entire game, then you would probably know the one that I'm talking about. Yet in 2025, the glitch still exists and still works. This is a glitch that we can use to give any player 99 potential, complete any objective inside Manager Live, and there is no downside to using it at all. The lone glitch still exists, and today I'll be showing you how to do it yourself, and then telling you exactly why it happens. Normally in a video game, it's a pretty big deal when a game has a bug, and I actually can't remember a single other game series having one for this long. The first game to have the lone glitch was FIFA 13, which released in 2012, 13 years before I'm making this video. It was only actually discovered because of what was then a new system, the dynamic potential tags, which of course are still in the game and still used to do this glitch. In older games, you could do this glitch once and move a player from showing great potential to having potential to be special, whereas now you only actually get a couple of points of potential. But of course, it's totally repeatable, and that makes it such a fun thing to do. So here's exactly what you need to do to get this glitch working on FC26. I'll tell you why it works and why it's a thing later in the video, but let's start by going into Squad Hub. Choose a youth player, or basically anyone under the age of 22, with at least 60 overall and 70 plus hidden potential. Players over 21 can totally be glitched, as can anyone with any potential, but to do it with them, you have to look at the market value rather than the tag, which is a little bit harder, but it's totally possible to do. So anyway, you've chosen your player. The next step is now to loan them out. Any club is fine. It doesn't matter if it's a long loan, a short loan, if they're in your league, if they're on a different continent, if they're playing on Mars. All they have to do is accept the loan and leave your club. So now we can do the glitch. Just save your game and immediately recall the player. In the squad status screen, you should see the player's potential tag, and if you don't see something showing like great potential here, then sadly the glitch has probably actually lowered the player's potential to make them not be in the range needed. If you see it a higher tier, or if their market value has increased, then congratulations. It's time to keep repeating until you get potential to be special, and then you can get them all the way up to 99. Just for reference, these are the 3 bands that we can get inside career mode. If you see has potential to be special, that means the player has over 90 potential. If you see exciting prospect, it means the player has a potential between 85 and 89. And if you see showing great potential, it means the player has a potential between 80 and 84. Some players will have things like a leader of men or the one about flare passes in here, but they don't really mean anything. All they do is block you from seeing this. Again, just use market value, and if it increases after you recall them, that means their potential has increased. So you can do this as many times as you want, and each successful cycle can bump the player up roughly 3 to 5 potential on FC26. So you could go from great potential to exciting prospect, and the next time have potential to be special. The only limit for how much potential you can give a player is how many times you can get a player out on loan in a single transfer window. To make things even better, you can actually do this with every single player in your squad if you want at the same time. Just make sure you save in between each recall, and then you can guarantee that your entire squad will eventually increase in potential. I think it's crazy how quick this is to execute. It's entirely unintended and can be done in one transfer window at the start of every save. I think it's clear to see why so many people know about and still use this glitch to this day. I think it is also important for me to say that this only affects the player's potential and not their current overall. So if you want your player to get to their potential, you're still going to need to develop them normally and have good match performances and stuff like that. I think the best time to use it, even if you're playing realistically, is if you get one of those youth players with a lot of playstyles, but they have really poor potential. You can boost them up to about where you think they belong, and it just means you can play basically any player that you want. You can build a team of players from San Marino, from Namibia, from Brazil. It doesn't matter. You can boost their potential, and you can have more fun in career mode by doing this. So, that is how to use one of the most famous glitches in FIFA history. Feel free to go and try this out in your save, but if you're interested in how this works, let's look at why this exists and why EA can probably never remove it. Let's find out why this is such a big deal. Well, behind the scenes, the lone glitch is a byproduct of how FIFA's career engine actually handles dynamic potential. Of course, now we actually do have a dynamic potential system. If your player plays well, their potential should improve, even though honestly, EA breaks this basically every year. Before they added this system though, every time a player moved clubs via transfer or loan, the game would recalculate his current potential. Of course, if you don't know, the potential system is just a hidden rating that caps a player's growth at a certain number. But AI also uses the player's age and potential to decide how much it's going to grow its own players, and overall, they don't use the same systems as us. Anyway, the system used to be that every time a player moved clubs, that's the only way that the game's potential would change. This isn't done on form or anything other than randomness, and the randomness in the past used to be huge. People have found back on FIFA 17 that recalling a player can boost potential by over 10, which is a ridiculous amount of growth. In effect, loaning the player out and then recalling him would cause 2 back-to-back potential rolls, once for the loan out and of course once when he returns to his other club. Thankfully, that has now changed, and the player's overall only changes once you have recalled them. On older games, there was actually a limit for how good the players could get from doing this. Until dynamic potential was added, the limit was 94 potential for a player that wasn't called Messi, Neymar, Ronaldo or Mbappe. But now, it's fully unlocked, and 99 potential players are possible in the Youth Academy, and they are definitely possible from using this, even if you start out with a player who has 55 potential. When you think about it, this loan glitch is probably actually more of an exploit than a glitch, and it's just a weird use of the intended dynamic growth system. It has no official fix because EA's never disabled the internal re-roll triggers that happen when a player changes club. They're a feature of the game to make it less boring, make some players get better in some saves and some players get worse in others, and so it's something that isn't really broken, so it's hard for them to fix. When people do the loan glitch, they're kind of just using a feature as intended, just a little more often than EA had in mind. No FIFA or FC patch notes have ever actually mentioned the loan glitch. It has been fixed a few times, but it's just gone broken again as soon as a new game released, or there's been a big major update that I think EA's just rolled back code to develop. I'll be honest, I think that this glitch has been in the game for so long that the people actually developing the game, when they were playing career mode as a youngster, they would have used this glitch. It's basically like it's embedded into the code at this point. That's the only way that a glitch could go in a game from FIFA 13 to FC 26. I think it's legitimately just a feature that you can use if you fancy using it. This one guy on Reddit did make me laugh though. Someone asked if the loan glitch was patched last year, and someone else replied, "Still working. You almost gave me a heart attack." Imagine any other game having people love a glitch as much as this one. Career mode guides still presented as a useful feature for youth development. I've talked about it in some of my youth development videos over the years too, and people recommend and still teach it basically every day on Reddit FIFA careers, and I'm sure you can probably see why they do. It's just so useful to have a tool to be able to do whatever you want in what is basically a single player sandbox game. But thank you so much for watching. If you've got any recommendations for players that you want to use the loan glitch for, or tell me about a player that you got from a really low overall to a really high potential, because it's super interesting to read. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Cheers and goodbye.